Good morning. It's another beautiful day in Florida. Up bright and early. I just released a podcast on voting and learned helplessness, or a podcast episode, I should say. So, learned helplessness is this real thing, this psychological principle. So, we did some, relatively unethical research with animals back in the day, and not me, obviously, but other people. One of the things they did is they had this electrified floor. And so they had this cage and it had a little thing the dog could easily jump over. And then on one half, there was an apparatus that the dog could hit a button to stop being shocked, right? And it wasn't enough of an electrical shock to hurt them, but it was definitely enough to be annoying. And then in other cages, they didn't have that way to stop themselves, right? So there's a bunch of stuff that they did with this experiment, but basically what it boiled down to is they had these three groups of dogs, and one of them had a way to stop themselves from being shocked, one group did not, and one group was just never shocked, right? And so when they put them in this new cage where there's a little gate that they could jump over to get to the other side that's not shocking, the ones that had learned they could stop themselves or stop themselves from being shocked simply jumped over. The ones that had not been able to stop themselves from being shocked just laid down and gave up, right? And this happens with humans. And I think this is at least a reasonable percentage of the people that don't vote, is that learned helplessness. They voted and they voted and they voted and nothing's ever changed. And so they're like, fuck it, I can't do this, right? I can't do anything about this. It's a very, very bad trap to fall into. And I mean, I've seen people do this with relationships too. They'll get with crappy people, and instead of learning from that and recognizing the flags and recognizing, like for me, for example, if I get with a new partner after one of the partners that I was with, I do not fortunately have a history of getting with toxic people. However, it's because I've learned how to identify the ones that aren't toxic. And even with a relationship that I was in, it was very short term, but I was still picking up on those red flags even through my own emotional codependence at the time after a partner had died. I was still picking up that something was wrong. I just couldn't see it, right? And I couldn't see my own emotional codependence either. So, it's again that self-awareness, man. We all have blind spots sometimes, and there's so many people that just are not self-aware at all. How they impact other people around them. They can't see themselves they don't have insight, number one. That's hard enough. Number two, they can't step outside themselves and view themselves as an object that's interacting and impacting the world around them, right? Can't do it. So they can learn to do it. Everyone can learn to do it. But a lot of people just can't, apparently only 10 to 15% of people can, according to research. It was really disheartening, and when I took another step back away from social media, I was like, well, this makes so much sense. So I'll install the app, post the podcast transcript or article that I wrote, and then delete the app again. Perfect. I'm not dealing with people that aren't even self-aware. So, and I know that sounded as like a mightier than thou and whatever, but if that's where your head's going, well, you've got some learning to do. It's hard to walk that fine line. So, but anyways, yeah, so for example, I do have an idealized, so I am truly polyamorous. In other words, I can love and commit to more than one person. I know myself, my limit is probably two, probably no more than that. And I don't commit to anyone for at least 2 years. That's just the way it goes. You don't know anyone for at least 2 years. Rachel and I have been together for almost 2, and it'll probably be another year before I can comfortably commit. And we've talked about that, and she understands. So, because she's young, she's learning, she's growing. I'm still getting to know who she truly is at the core of her being, right? And I think I know who she truly is at the core of her being, otherwise I wouldn't be with her. But anyways, all that aside. So I do have an idealized type, right? I do like women that are, 5'10" or taller, bodybuilders, or at least in athletic shape. I am very extrinsically motivated when it comes to getting in shape, working out, competing, etc. And that's just who I am. And there's a lot of things that I have intrinsic motivation for. Working out at that level is not one of them, right? I would have to have a partner that's into that. I do enjoy it, but I don't enjoy it enough to just do it for me and go compete by myself and all that crap. So I just don't see, it does nothing for me. Because I know myself, I don't need to project some other image to the world. I don't need to build myself up. I don't have body dysmorphia and all that crap. So, not saying that everyone that does that does have that, but there is a percentage. So, for me though, obviously I'm looking, well, maybe not obviously, I'm looking for women when it comes to that stuff. Well, statistically, there's only about 75 women in the entire US that meet the idealized criteria, right? And those are based on objectively independent variables. That does include, however, not having a personality disorder or high levels of cluster B traits, right? So that eliminates some right there. Only 2.2% of women in the world are 5'10", or women in the US are 5'10" or taller. 2.2%, right? Just that alone, I found that, I was like, well, crap. I was like, just once I want to get with a woman who's like 7 feet tall and feel like a little. Just once. Is that too much to ask? Yes, it is too much to ask. Statistically, it probably won't happen, right? But at the same time, when it comes to learned helplessness, I could just say, well, crap. Okay, so women that are bodybuilding and are single and not taken are probably damaged. They're probably doing it to protect themselves. They're all these things, right? That may be accurate. It may absolutely be accurate for at least a good percentage of those types of women. But learned helplessness would make me go, well, there's no way in hell that I'm ever going to meet anyone like that. That's, not only idealized physical type, but also, a solid person, intelligent, educated, all this stuff. I'm just never going to, isn't scared of the world, has 4 years of Muay Thai, isn't afraid of men, that would be learned helplessness for me, is just being like, well, it's never going to happen, right? So, no. Now, I'm not going out there and actively looking for other partners. I do love Rachel, and Rachel and I have been together for almost 2 years. She also does understand that I do need 2 partners or no partners, because I'm really good on my own. It's very tough for me to be in a relationship, because relationships take a lot of work, and it's much easier for me to be alone than to be in a relationship, just from the semantics of everything, just that alone. And anyone who doesn't get that, if you're not emotionally codependent or something like that, then you probably haven't done the math on the messiness of living with another human. So anyways, so yeah, the episode that I released on voting and learned helplessness, guys, get out there and vote. Yes, I get it. If you're making a logical choice and you're making a logical commitment to not vote because of logical choices, I get that, and I respect it, and that's fine. But if you're one of these people that doesn't vote because you feel like your vote doesn't matter, go vote, all right? It's a right, okay? It's not a chore. People have fought and died for this, men and women, for the right to vote, right? So it's kind of your duty as a citizen to vote. It's the least you can do. So get out there, go vote. Don't fall into the trap of learned helplessness, especially with local elections. With the local elections, it could come down to 1 or 2 or 10 votes, right? And if you're one of, let's say, 30 people that had learned helplessness and didn't recognize it and so decided not to vote, well, guess what? You can't complain when things are not the way you want it to be. So I don't care who you vote for. I don't care about your political beliefs. That never really interested me that much. Politics are so, yes, they do affect all our lives, but there's so much more in life than politics, right? So, but at the same time, I do take the time to vote. I did feel a little embarrassed because when I went to vote this time, I had not looked up the judges, so I felt like a dum-dum because I was like, well, crap, I don't know what their policies were. So, guess what? You take some time. They can't kick you out of the voting booth. You take some time. You Google it. You look it up on your phone. You look at different sources, right? Make sure you're at least as informed as you can be about the choices you're making, and you're not just Christmas treeing the thing. Take your time. Don't be embarrassed. People can fuck off. They'll be able to vote. There'll be time. So, anyways, go vote.